Hi, this is David here at Highland Camper Vans and welcome to the handover video of this Malibu Compact 600 LE. We are going to take you around the basic control function of the vehicle, get you all set and ready for your first adventures out in this amazing van. Now, I do recommend that you maybe bookmark this video or maybe download it to your device for future reference when you're out about the field and maybe need a little bit of help out about. All that's left for me to say is I hope you enjoy the video and I hope you find it useful, and I'll catch you at the end. Your Malibu is equipped with an electrical entry step. So when you open the slide door and you want to give it easier access into your van, you can open up this step. So how do we do that? That is fairly straightforward. Once the door's open, we have access to a number of control switches located along this panel here. This one on the very end to the left is the control switch for the electric step. And it's a case of just holding the button to action the step, like so. And then to retract the step, we just action the button the other way. And that allows the electric step then to go back on in again. Now, if you have accidentally left the step open and you're about to drive away, you will get a warning buzzer inside the van to let you know that you need to retract the step. Please don't continue the drive while the step is out, because you could do damage to the electrical step itself. Incidentally, what is not a bad thing to do is when you've been on a campsite and you're ready to leave and you're about to retract the step, it's not a bad idea to maybe brush off any debris, dirt or sand that's maybe caught on the step, just to avoid that dirt being dragged in onto the rails itself. It's a good maintenance tip to keep your electric step operating at peak health at all times. At the back of the van on the driver's side, you are going to see this. Now this is labelled Wasser, which is German for water. So this is your water infill point. Now you will need your Habitation key to unlock this cap. Once you've done, it's a case of just turning this cap, and this then allows us to put the van full of water. So take your water line, insert that into the van like so, and then run your water into the van itself. Now, there is no particular overflow on this vehicle, so when you see water backwashing here, that's going to let you know that the van is full of water, and then you can retract your hose. So once you've finished filling, retract your hose back out again, and then replace your cap, like so, and don't forget to lock this off, and that covers our water infill. Down along the driver's side of the vehicle in front of the rear wheel, you're going to find this handle. Now this handle here allows you to empty out the wastewater tank of your Malibu. Straightforward. Use this as a guide to line up with the drain that you want to empty the water onto, and then action the handle down, and that will then allow the waste tank to drain out. Now, depending on the level of the waste tank, this could take a couple of minutes to fully drain. So what you want to do is just wait until you see no more water dropping onto the bottom of the van. Now, if you're winterizing your van, it's not a bad idea to take the van for a short 5-minute drive, just to slosh out the last of the water that may be trapped in the tank, and then leave this open, just to allow any moisture just to ventilate it out. For travel purposes, when you're back in season, don't forget to make sure you close that back up again. So when you're on campsite, you don't accidentally drop water back onto the floor. So located down the passenger side of your vehicle, you're going to find this access panel here, and hide behind this access panel once you've unlocked it with the Habitation key is your toilet cassette. Now, to be able to access the toilet cassette, you do need to make sure that the toilet itself is in the forward position, not in its stowed position. Otherwise you won't be able to access the cassette because it'll be too far around the back of the recess. So do make sure it's pushed forward, and also do make sure that the flap between the toilet basin and the cassette is in the closed position, otherwise the cassette will not release. So once you've done that and you're ready to take the cassette out, just squeeze the orange handle, pull the cassette out, and then just work it through the hatch like so. So there is wheels on the bottom, and this does extend out to give you a little trolley handle if you want to tow it behind you, or you do have large carry handle on top just to carry it on top like so. So when you're ready to empty it, lift the funnel area up, undo the cap. Now, incidentally, on the cap, you do have little indicators for chemical measuring fills. So if you are adding chemicals, you can use this as a filling cap. Do bear in mind that in Scotland and most other camping sites around the country, blue chemical is no longer used because it's not septic tank friendly. You will need to probably use green or something similar to that, which is septic tank friendly. You can use pods as well, which is similar to what you put into the washing machine. They have become popular. They just drop straight in when you're ready. So to empty the toilet, it's a case of press the pressure button here, tip the toilet out while emptying it out, and then you want to put water in and give the cassette with the lid back on the top here, give it a good sloshing out a couple of times to make sure you remove any wadded paper that may have got stuck inside around the float. Once you're done, then put in water up to about the wheel line just here, add in your chosen chemical, put the flat cap back on, lock it up, shut the nozzle back down, and then get ready to insert the cassette. Now the cassette goes back in wheels first. So slide the cassette in, put it onto the track, and then push it back until it clicks. There we go. Give it a quick wiggle, make sure it's nice and secure, and then once you're done, it's just a case of closing the flap, and that's you. In the garage of your Malibu, you're going to see this locker just here, and hiding behind this locker, which I've already opened, is where the gas bottles are stored. So you have room for 2 gas bottles on board, so if you want to add an initial bottle, you can do so here, and you can also look at adding a second connection point to run 2 bottles simultaneously, or if you wish to, you can just switch your pigtail, which is this pipe here, from one bottle to the next bottle. So for turning the gas on and off, it's a simple case of using the valve that's on top of the gas bottle just here. So to turn the bottle on, we rotate it to the left. That lets gas supply come into the bottle. And then if we want to turn the bottle off, we just turn that to the right, and that will then close the gas supply going into the van itself. Now on the regulator point, you will notice there's this like black button and this yellow switch. This is for gas specialists only. You don't need to touch this at all. This yellow toggle is not, I repeat, not a gas shut-off valve. It is used primarily for testing the systems during habitation and gas safety checks. Now again, as I mentioned in another part of this video, it is recommended that when you travel, it's also indicated here on the door safety sticker, that when you are traveling, you switch the gas bottle off. And as I recommend as an extra precaution, to turn the isolator tap, which is on the other side of this board, underneath the bed area, which we covered in another part of this video. So for draining the fresh tank, you will need to take the mattress off on the driver's side of the van, lift this cover up here, and this will give us access to the freshwater tanks. So you have the red cap access here, which allows you to go in and add cleaners or do maintenance inspections. And then hiding just down over here, you have got the drain valve for the fresh tank. Now the fresh tank here actually has a travel mode available on it, where you can make a quarter of a turn, and that will allow the tank to partly drain but not fully drain. So to fully drain the system, it would be a case of just turning this valve all the way around, keep turning it until the water passes through the bottom. Now, draining the fresh tank is part of your winterization, which we have mentioned in other parts of this video. So if you are winterizing your van, you do need to make sure you empty out your freshwater tank to make sure it doesn't freeze on you. Also, the other thing to do as well is, if the van has been laid up for a period of time, you do want to empty out the fresh tank, because the water in here is going to sit and go stagnant, and you don't want to be using that for drinking water or for cooking with. So yeah, you definitely want to drain out the fresh tank to put fresh water in. Now, if the van has been winterized and you are returning to the van, a common fault, like with the boiler valve, is that you forget to close this when you're putting the water in. So if you are noticing a puddle of water start to appear at your feet when you're filling the van up, just pop inside, make sure that this has been closed, and then obviously try filling the van again with water. Once you're done, it's just a case of replacing the cover and then pulling the mattress back over, and that is you all sorted. As you enter into your Malibu, just above the sliding door, you are going to see this control interface. This control interface is the Habitation control panel, and its job is to give you information on water levels, battery levels, allows you to put power into the van, etc. So first things first, this little indicated right here in the middle, this is letting you know that the Malibu is currently connected to an electrical hookup. So this little light here is letting you know that the van is connected to an outside circuit. That to you means that the 3-pin sockets that are available inside your van are now fully functional for devices to be operated through. So first things first, this button here turns on the 12-volt system. So the little green light turns the 12-volt system on, and if you have any light that was already left on, those lights will come on, but the other lighting circuits will also now switch on, like so, and that gives you your light circuits on inside the van. Buttons to the side here. So this one just here is your battery status. Just hold the button down. This is your freshwater status, wastewater status, and then vehicle battery status. So that gives you quick indications of when you're needing to check things around inside of the van. The other button over here allows you now to link the media mode of the habitation zone to the radio at the front. There are speakers down the back of the van. So when this is on, you'll now get audio running through the back of the vehicle as well. And that covers the habitation panel. Pretty straightforward. But again, it is covered in depth in your owner's guide if you need a reference. For heating and hot water inside your van, you're going to need to use the Truma system. This is located just above the sliding door next to the habitation control panel, which is covered in another part of this video. So first things first, if you are wanting to use hot water or heating, you need to make sure that your van is either connected via electric hookup or you have your gas supply turned on. So to wake up the Truma system, we press and hold the button here in the middle. This will wake the system up. You can see this little indicator symbol here is just reminding us that the van is on electrical hookup. So press the button to enter the menu. We have a number of choices here. So we have, as flashing, van temperature for the heater, water temperature, energy source, and then fan mode. Down the bottom here, we have our timers and setting menus. We won't cover this in this video just now. We're going to concentrate on the main control functions that you're going to be using from day to day. So to set things up, first things first, we are going to need to tell the van what energy mode we're going to use. Now, because we're on hookup, we're going to tell the van that we're on electric. So we're going to go into this mode, press the button to select, and then we have our first primary option, which is gas. Now, if we rotate the dial, we'll get secondary options. Mix 1. Mix 1 is a mixture of gas supply and electric supply. Mix 2 is against gas and electric supply, but this time it's now in 1800 watt. Electric 1 is for electrical hookup, and electric 1 normally relates to a 900 watt hookup cable system. Electric 2 would be if you have the ability to hook up to an 1800 watt or above supply system, and that is our options. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to select electric 1 because we're on our electrical hookup. Press to confirm. We can now go and make our choices here for hot water and for the heating. So the first symbol is for heating. So let's go into that. So currently it's off, and we just rotate this to tell the van what temperature we'd like the heating to be set at. So in this case, let's go with 20 degrees. Now, you will notice there's a little flame symbol just above this here. Now, this is just to let you know that the van is going hot. It's not a case that the van is running on gas only. This is to let you know that this system is now engaged. So the other symbols that you'll see above here is we can now see that because we have the heating now engaged, it's letting us know that the energy source is an electric 1. Remember the symbols from this menu that we saw earlier is relayed up here. And currently the fan is now on to allow the heating system to work. So let's go and have a look at the fan menu. So when we've got the heating on, we can now make some changes to the way the system is working. So when the fan is in eco mode, what this is basically telling us that the heating system will operate the fan vents softly, just to avoid too much noise inside the vehicle. Now it will take a little bit longer to heat the van like this. So we can speed things up. So let's move along. Okay. Back to the fan menu. And we can now increase the fan to a high speed like so. And that now will tell the system to get along. Don't worry about the noise, just get the van heated up nicely. Okay. So let's have a look at the hot water. Hot water is this one just here. Press and select. Now the hot water has two modes. You have eco, which is about 40 degrees for washing dishes. And then you have hot, which is about 60 degrees, which is ideal for shower temperature. We're going to pick eco mode for now because we just maybe want to do some dishes. And we just press the button to select it. And we can now see we have our eco system up here. Now, while the bottom line here, the flashing indicators to let you know which part if you have selected. When you have things flashing at the top, it's to let you know that the heater system is engaging, but not at temperature, and the water system is engaging, but not at temperature. When these two symbols go solid up here, this will let you know that the room temperature has now reached the point, and the water temperature has also reached points as well. Okay. So what do we do when we want to finish with the system? So we've maybe finished heating the van and we don't want the heater on anymore, or we're finished with hot water. So pretty straightforward. we wake the system up, and then we go in and we shut things down. So let's start with the room heater. We click the room heater and we just turn this back to off, like so. You'll now notice that the little flame symbol above the van has now disappeared. Same with the hot water. If we wanted to turn the hot water off, we select the hot water on the lower menu, press the button and switch this to off. And you'll now notice that this symbol has now disappeared. You'll also notice that the energy source and the fan symbol have also vanished from this display, purely because at the moment, the Truma system is now completely in standby. It's not been told to heat water. It's not been told to heat the van. So it doesn't need to tell you what energy source or what vent mode it's in. Now, when you have the heating off and you have the hot water off, there is another little mode that the fan can engage with for you. So let me roll this over. When the systems are off here, so you're not heating the van in any form, hot water or the room temperature, you can actually run a vent on the boiler system. So this just here lets you just blow cold air around the van. So on a hot summer's day, if it's a bit particularly warm inside the van, you can get the boiler system to just blow cold air around to help cool things down for you. So again, this works like the room temperature. So we just pick the fan speed we want. And then once we finish with it, we just take it all the way back to off, like so, and that turns everything off. So what do we do when we want to completely turn the Truma system off? So for shutting the Truma system down, you need to make sure that all the top row symbols have disappeared. So you have no heating, no hot water, and no other symbols appeared on board here. The easy way to do this, okay, is to select all the way to the left, all the way to the right, sorry, to the fan. Click, turn all the way to the left, click. One click left, click. Turn this all the way to the left, click. One click left, click. Turn it all the way to the left, click. One click left, and etc. And you see what I'm doing there, and that way there, I'm making sure that there is no symbols present across the top of the line here. That lets me know that the Truma system is now ready to be shut down. So to shut down the Truma system, we are going to hold this button down while we're in this screen. If we see the time screen just here, we need to wake the system up, and then hold the button down. There we go. So there's the word off, and now the screen has gone completely blank. This means that the Truma system now has been shut down correctly. Now, I would recommend that you shut down the Truma system before you switch off the Habitation control device. This just avoids any silly interrupt codes that you may accidentally pick up. Incidentally, talking of codes, the two most popular codes are when you put the room heater on and you have forgotten to tell the van what energy you're using and you accidentally pick gas and you haven't turned the gas on, it'll throw a gas alert that says no gas supply. Likewise, if you tell the van that you're on electric, but you're not actually got a hookup, then the van will also throw another error saying there's no electric to be used, as it were. So if you do see a couple of error codes, just refer to your owner's manual. The two most popular ones, as I said, is just a case where you've told the system you want to be on gas, but haven't switched the supply on, or if you told the van you were on electrical hookup and you've forgotten to tell it, actually put the hookup cable in. So these are quickly, easy to sort. If you have an error code, then what you need to do is move down all the way here to the spanner, just there, click on it, and then just turn this until you see the word reset. Reset. That just resets the system and that sorts you out. Okay. And that's that there. And that covers the Truma heating system. When it comes to cooking in your new Malibu, you will need to use the Dometic hob rings, which are located just here in the kitchenette area. Now, before you use these, you will need to make sure that you have turned on your gas supply and make sure that the gas isolation tap is open, as well as make sure that your habitation control panel is on so you can use the sparking switches. So once you've done all that, you're ready to initiate the gas. So lift up the cover. Now, these two pan rings here are designed for slightly different sizes. There's a sticker here to indicate the size of the pans. So the one here on the left is for pans up to 180 millimeters. The one on the right is up to 150 millimeters. So when you're ready to light the gas, we are going to push this, turn and push, like so. You can hear the gas coming through. Press the igniter. Hold this in for a second to allow the couplings to warm. And then we can adjust the flow of gas by rotating the dial further. Let's light the other one. There we go. And that's the gas running through the two rings. So once you finish cooking, then all you need to do is turn these back to the 12 o'clock position. like so. Have a quick listen to make sure the gas has all stopped flowing. Perfect, and we know the gas is completely off. Before closing the lid down, you do want to make sure that the gas rings here have had a chance to cool down. If you shut this down while this is too hot, you do run the risk of breaking the glass or potentially shattering the glass instead. So definitely make sure this here has cooled down first. Now these little rings here can be removed if you just lift them out gingerly, so you can clean around the hob rings if you need to, and then just push them back in nice and gently just to secure them back into place. And there we go. In the bed area of your Malibu on the passenger side, underneath this bed area here, you are going to find access for the boiler, and you're also going to find the gas isolation tap, and finally the distribution board with trip switches on board. So to get at it, we need to lift this bed portion up. So it's just a case of lifting it up and raising the bed area up like so. So first things first, let's have a look at the distribution board, which is this device just down here. So on the distribution board, we have our trip switches, which are located across here. And we also have our test button, which is this orange button just here. So if you are connected to a hookup line and you want to check to make sure that your brake switches are working, we just press that button to action a test control. Very similar to what you would do at home with your own circuitry board as well. And the other side of this compartment, we have this device just located here, which is the gas isolation tap. Now this tap here will kill the gas supply from traveling from the bottle into the van. Now I do recommend that for travel purposes, do switch this off. And again, when you're winterizing your van, it also you maybe want to switch this off. Just on the other side of this wood frame here is where the gas bottle actually lives itself. So the final thing inside this compartment is the access panel, which is just down here, which allows you to get access to the top of the boiler. Now, as a user, it'll be rather rare for you to actually need to access the boiler. It's more for a service point, but it's handy to know where the boiler access is if you need to get into it at some point down your usage life. Let's put that cover back. Now, the boiler has a protection switch. So for frost protection, which we'll cover in the latter part of this video, but for its location for you, it's located just down here. And we'll come back to that in a later part of the video. Let's take a look at the fridge that's fitted to your Malibu. So the fridge is located in the kitchenette zone, just below the gas rings. And that's it just here. Okay. So to access the fridge, you do have a handle just down the side there. Give it a wee squeeze, pull it out, and that will give us access to the fridge. So we have our chiller box at the top there, and then we have a lot of regular fridge compartments like so. To turn the fridge on, if we look at the control panel, there's a little button just hiding here next to my thumb. So if we push and hold the button down, this will now light the fridge up like so. So that lights the fridge up and gets the fridge on. So how do we make setting changes? So first things first, we need to touch the screen to wake the screen up, and then hold our finger on the screen till it flashes like so. And now we can make changes to the temperature compartment by just dragging a finger up and down like so. So low to high mode. Now I recommend for starting out in the fridge, always start around 3, see how you get on. If you need the fridge cooler, make the adjustment, or if the fridge is too cold, you can chase it the other way. Bear in mind that the more the fridge is chilling, the more energy the fridge is using, so you potentially are using more power on the fridge as well. Now for nighttime use, this fridge actually has a very handy night mode. So let's wake that up for you. So again, fridge is in standby, so we need to wake the screen up by tapping it. Wake the screen up. Now we need to be able to action the screen. So we need to wake the screen, hold the button down, wait for the flash. Now we can action the screen. That button there is the night mode for the fridge. So essentially what the fridge will now do is it will go into a very low compression cycle, so specifically for nighttime use. Now when the fridge is in night mode, it's strongly recommended that you don't open the door. The fridge is technically now acting like a cool box, but it will monitor the situation. If the fridge starts to get too warm, it will action the compressor and start cooling things down again. Now this night modes here, they have a timer, built-in timer. So after about 8 hours or so, this will then switch off automatically and the fridge will then resume in normal operational mode. Just so you don't forget when you wake up in the morning and you're getting your coffee on and you forgot to change the fridge over, it will sort itself out. So for powering the fridge down, all we need to do is wake the fridge up. Then we need to hold the button down to get the flash to allow us to use the fridge. And there we go. And that turns the whole fridge back off again. And there we go. And that is the fridge. Now, bear in mind, the fridge is a 12-volt compressor fridge. So it runs on the leisure system, be it on the battery or an electrical hookup, or when the vehicle is driving, it will then operate off the vehicle battery. Now, the fridge is independent from the habitation control, so you don't need to have the habitation control on while operating the fridge. So, i.e., it means if you're driving and you want the fridge on while you're driving, start the ignition, come into the rear area, turn the fridge on so you can chill food and drinks while you're driving. And then when you're on site, just connect up to your hookup or turn on your habitation system and the fridge will automatically switch over into the leisure system mode. And that covers our fridge. Inside the boot area of your Malibu and in this access panel here on the left-hand side of the van, we are going to find the frost protection valve for the boiler. Now, in winter use of the van, if you are out and about and the temperature does drop in the van to a low level, the boiler is designed to protect itself by dropping the water out of its system to avoid it freezing and causing damage to its internals. So where does this frost valve live? So it's under this access cover here. Now I'm going to maneuver the camera so you can help see where it is. So what we're looking at is this device just here with the blue cap on it. There we go. Now we can see it. So this is the frost protection valve just here. Now, a simple way to tell if it's open or not, there's a little grey pin that will pop out on this to let you know that it has actioned. If the pin is actioned out, that means that the frost protection valve has triggered and it needs to be reset. So let's reset that with you just now. So let's action it. That there is in triggered mode. And you can probably just about see the little pin that's just popped out. So we need to rotate this like so. I'm trying to do this with the camera in the way. Hold on. There we go. So let's rotate that round. Now, at the bottom of this shroud, there is a little blue button. It's quite hard to see here in the video, but if you run your hand down, you will feel the button. It's located on the right hand side. That button needs to be pushed in. So the button is down on this side of the shroud just here. That there is the valve now completely reset, which allows water now to go back into the boiler. So for winterization, you do need to trigger this action. So you need to come in here and switch this. Make sure the pin is now popped out. That will allow water to drain out of the boiler system and it makes sure your van is fully winterized. Now, of course, when it comes back to putting your van back into mode for use and you're putting water into the van, what's a common mistake is that you forgot to shut the frost protection valve. So the frost protection valve is in the open position and you forgot to reset the system. You'll know this by underneath the van at this side, you'll find a puddle of water starting to appear. That will be a reminder that you haven't done this. It's just a case of coming in here, feeling for that grey pin. Yes, the pin is stuck out at the minute. Rotate this to the 90 degrees, run your hand down the side, push the pin in, and that is now the boiler ready to accept water. Of course, during any winterization, if you are having any questions or you're not too sure what to do, please do reach out to us. We are more than happy to assist when it comes to winterizing your van. So now we're going to take a look at the main opening skylight, which is just above the dinette area in your Malibu. So as you come in through the main entrance door, it's the skylight just above. So to open up, we just need to wind this handle. This will allow the roof to raise like so, and then just raise it to desired position. Now for shutting the roof, we need to pay attention to this little indicator just here. So as the roof comes down, this part of the roof here is going to lock in on this tag here, and this will then go red to let us know that the roof is then locked. So let's wind the roof down and you'll see this red indicator appear. So there's the red indicator there. So that means that the roof is now correctly locked. There's an indicator on both sides of the skylight, so do make sure both are checked. And as just an extra security, just give the roof a little lift to see if it is locked into position. Now, this is really important, is when you are driving around in your van, it is strongly recommended that you do not drive with any of these skylights open. They are very lightweight Perspex plastic, and you're likely to rip them off clean off the top of the van. So before driving off, just make sure that your skylights are closed and this little indicator and one on the opposite side are in red. So let's take a moment to have a look at the windows and blinds on your van. So on the Habitation windows and blinds, you are going to see this part of the window, and you're going to see these on the window as well. So if I open the window, it's a case of just undoing these latches like so, and this will then allow the window to actually open itself. Now, the support arm here will support the window as it goes out. Again, as mentioned in our part of the video with the Skylights, don't drive with your windows open. They are very lightweight plastic and they will most likely be ripped off the side of the van. So when you're closing the window, make sure this tag is on this side. Some of these here, some people will put the tag on this bit there, which is a vent mode. So if you're in the van at night time and you want to secure the windows, but you don't want the windows fully shut, that is basically a ventilation mode. Don't travel in that mode either. Make sure the window for security purposes, for traveling, if I just quickly flip that up, is on the inner edge like so. So for the blinds. So the blinds are in two parts. So when you pull this down, your first part is the actual blind itself. So you have that on there. And there's a second bit at the top, which if you pull that down, will action your fly screen as well. So when you are traveling, do make sure that these are both pushed up. These are both pushed in the upright position for traveling. Please don't travel when the window blinds are down or when the fly screens are down, because it will eventually do stretch damage to the tensioners, and you'll end up getting blinds that will start to droop. Now, talking of that, the blinds are on a very simple tension system, and over the course of time, the blinds will eventually lose their tension and they may start to drop down naturally. This can be addressed by a workshop if you want to get the blinds retention, but to help prevent that from happening, good blind maintenance is to make sure that when you travel, the blinds are closed, to make sure the tension is off them correctly. And again, when you're moving the blinds up and down, don't be forceful with them. Try and keep the pressure for moving the blinds up and down even. So using two hands, make sure it's even pressure. And when you pull them back up again, using two hands to move the pressure up and down evenly. In the kitchen area, you're going to find this here. Now this here is actually where your sink is. So to access the sink, we just need to remove the chopping board, and if need be, the secondary cover to give us more space. So pull the tap across and make sure that you have fresh water in your supply and that you have the Habitation system switched on to activate the water pump. And it's a simple case of just opening the faucet to allow water to flow through. Now, if you have the hot water system on, you can turn the faucet here to actually activate the hot water, or if you just want cold, it's all the way across to the side here. Now, when you are traveling, I do recommend pushing the plugs into the basin, just to avoid any unpleasant smells that may wash back through from the waste tank. And there is our kitchen sink. In the bathroom, you're going to find this here, and hiding in here is the vanity sink. So to use the vanity sink, we do need to make sure the Habitation panel is on to allow the water pump to operate, and that you do have a sufficient supply of fresh water. So pull the sink down with the tap pulled down as well, and then open the faucet, and that will then allow water to flow through into the vanity sink itself like so. Now once you finish, you do close the faucet down, and that will stop the flow of water. Or if you need to adjust the water, if you have the hot water system on, you can turn this to the side to allow hot water to flow. Now, do bear in mind there is a drain port at the very back of the sink just here, but do keep an eye on this. It is easy to overfill the sink without realizing it, but it should backwash at the back here. But if the van's not level, this won't wash back properly. So when we're finished with the sink, we're going to push the tap back up, and then we're going to tip the sink up gently to allow the water to slow through the bottom like so. Now, if you lift this up too quickly, you do run the risk of pushing water outside of the sink and going all over the floor. So just lift this nice and gently, make sure the water is drained, and then close this back off like so. The toilet in your Malibu can be found in the washroom, and it will be in one of two positions. It's either in the open position ready to use, or it is in the stow position, as you can see here in this video, which then needs to be retracted. So in order to retract the toilet out, we need to use this little handle here. So we're going to push the handle down and pull the toilet out. Make sure you bring the toilet all the way out and make sure it locks into place. Give it a push to make sure it's secure, because you don't want the toilet sliding back in when you're trying to use it. So to use the toilet, it's just like any other toilet at home. You lift the flap up, And then what you do need to make sure is that you have got the interior flap, this one down here, open. So to open that, there's a lever just here, pull that across, that'll open the interior flap, ready for use. So closed and open. Once you're done and you're ready to flush, we're going to use the flush control, which is located just here with the blue button. So all we do is we press the blue button and then we'll get water flushing through to drain through to the cassette. Close the cassette unit off with the flap like that, so it's all closed, and then shut the lid, and that there is the toilet. The shower in your Malibu works very much like the kitchen sink and the vanity sink that we've covered in other parts of this video. So to use the shower, you will obviously need to make sure that you have fresh water in the system, you have turned the habitation panel on board, and if you want a hot shower, make sure you turn the hot water boiler on and give it ample time to warm up first. So to activate the shower, we use the faucet controller, which is located a little bit lower down. You may need to move the screen door to be able to access it correctly. And then once you're ready, you just open the faucet control, and then you will have water that will flow through the shower like so. Once you're done with your shower, it's just a case of closing the faucet, and that will then complete the shower. Sitting in the driver's seat, let's have a look at the control functions for your Malibu. So on the dashboard, we have the speedometer, fuel gauge, computer, revs, engine temperature. Now the computer can be controlled by the button controls just here, so you can cycle it left and right for computer information, and then up and down for various different other display menus like oil levels, messages, vehicle setup menus, etc. You then have the Bluetooth control located just here if you have a mobile paired, and on this side here we have your cruise control and limiter functions as well. On the door, we have the mirror control switch just here, so we move this and use the joystick to move the mirror that we want to adjust. And then we have the window switches to open the windows, and then a button here to activate the rear or turn off the rear central lock-in. On the stalks, we have the lights, so we turn the lights on like so, away from you to turn the beam on, or when the lights are off, it acts towards you as a flasher, and then indicators are up and down. On the opposite side, we have the wiper stalk. So to turn the wipers on, we action this part just here. So we have an intermittent mode. So we have a low intermittent, high intermittent. Then we have normal speed and a high speed. To wash the window, just pull the stalk towards you and that'll activate the wash wipe. The button on the end here doesn't actually do anything because there is no rear washer on the van itself. So moving over to the gearbox. So to action the gearbox, there is a safety button at the top of the gearbox just here, and this will not work unless you have your foot on the brake. This will then release this button to allow the gear stick to move. If you do not have your foot on the brake, this will not action at all. And again, if you do have your foot on the brake but don't press the button, you can't move the gear stick. So it's a combination of the two to allow you to move the gear stick. When you're moving the gear stick, there is an indicator at the very top of the computer display to let you know what the vehicle mode is in. So if you're in drive, if you're in manual control, or if you're in neutral, etc. Now, when you are stopping the vehicle, you do put the vehicle into park, and don't forget to put the handbrake on. The park mode for this is just to rest the gearbox. It's not to park the vehicle. The handbrake must be engaged. Never leave your Malibu just in park mode without putting the handbrake on. Important tip, that one. So onto the center display, we have our heating controls located just here. So we have our temperature setting and fan settings just here. We then have our modes, so automatic mode to put the air conditioning into auto mode. So the air conditioner will make decisions based on how the flow of air needs to be flowed. We have front demister mode, max AC. So max AC is basically puts the air conditioning into super mode for cooling the van down. We then have our manual controls here if we want to take control and dictate where we want the air to flow. Likewise, again, if we want to control the fan speed, air conditioning on or off. And then we have a circulator button here as well to circulate air into the cab only or bring external air from the outside. And then likewise, we have our off button, which turns the system off. Up top, we have the Pioneer standard fit radio system. So the button here will allow us to access the main menu for Bluetooth and DAB radio, etc. I advise just to have a wee play with this in your own time. You will get very familiar with the control function of that. Lower down, we have our DC 12 volt, and then we have a USB-C and USB-B control device as well. Then we have redundant button for the rear windows, and then we have central locker button for the cab, traction mode and hill descent mode. I would strongly suggest that you refer to your owner's manual for more information on these. On the gear stick, there is the drive mode button. This allows you to make a change to the vehicle's driving behavior. Now this affects the throttle performance primarily. So eco mode means the throttle is reduced, so it's a slow rev. Normal mode is just the vehicle in the balanced power plan. And then power means that the van will rev more freely, giving you maximum power through the wheels when needed. I would definitely recommend just experiment with these just to get a better flavour and feel of when you want to use them. As a suggestion, I would normally say if you're on the carriageway, you probably want to put the van into eco mode because you're not going to be accelerating and decelerating that much. Regular day town driving is normal. And if you need maximum power from the van, so for example, if the van's heavily laden or you are going up steep hill inclines, things like that, then put the power button on. Incidentally, you can do this while driving. You don't need to stop the van to change the power mode. While you move along, if you just tap this button, you can change the engine profile as you go. So last thing to cover while we're in the cab is let's have a look at the Remus blinds, which are located on the front window and on the side window located just here. So for night time, when you want to use the blinds, then you just basically give this a squeeze, pull the blinds out, and they will connect magnetically at the front just here, and that locks them into place. And these ones do the same, and they come across and they meet into the middle. And then you just pull them back once you're done. So for the side ones, it's exactly the same idea. To put them back, just pull the blind, be very careful with it. The pins here are quite fragile. So pull this all the way back across, and then click it into place like so, and that secures the blind. It's very important to make sure this has clicked into place, because if it's not clicked into place and you go around a corner, the blind could potentially fall out, obscuring your view as you go around a roundabout or a T-junction. So do make sure that these have been secured correctly. Give it a push and give it a click. And that gives us a run round of the driving control cab area. So there we go. That was the Handover video for the Malibu Compact. I hope you guys found it useful and that it gets you ready for your first exciting trips away in your new van. Now, of course, when you're out about the field and you maybe get a little bit stuck or something's maybe not covered in the video, do please reach out to us here at Highland Camper Vans. We are more than happy to help you out and get you all settled in. All that's left for me to say is I wish you many happy miles motoring in your camper van, and we look forward to seeing you again here at Highland Camper Vans. Bye for now.